This is Nourish You, the podcast where we question the traditional model of dieting and nutrition and focus on choice, fun, and health for the whole mind and body. It's all on the table and it all counts. I'm Jana, Rush Your Dietitian, and your host. And thank you so much for being with me and spending some time. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. So my name is Nathan Moore. I am a certified financial planner with Agape Planning Partners. Agape Planning Partners is a wealth management financial planning company located in Fresno, California, but we work with clients throughout the United States. So I'm a father of three, a grandfather of three, one fur baby and a wife as well. And I don't love them in any particular order. And so I just list them all and let them place themselves.
Isn't that so funny? Like people would be like, well, you didn't name me first. So yeah, I love that you say that. So how did you get into the financial planning realm?
My last year in college, I was not sure what I wanted to do yet. So I was planning on doing a semester abroad in Spain, doing a little bit of a walkabout and figure out what I want to do. And I went to a career fair where I met a financial planning firm, and they asked me, hey, how would you like to have unlimited income and unlimited free time? I said, sign me up. What does that take? And they said it's financial planning. Right. So as a college student, I started learning more about what financial planning actually entailed. My degree was in psychology, but I knew I wanted to work with people and wanted to be in business. And so a couple of months before graduating, I decided this is the career path I wanted to follow. I graduated May of '99, and June 1st, I started my financial planning career.
Wow. So how did you go from psychology to financial planning? Like, how does that fit with, who you are and what you ultimately saw for your life?
Yeah, so I tell people that my opinion, whenever anyone goes to college, there's two degrees that if you want to work with people, these are solid degrees to have, and that's psychology and sociology, because they really help you understand what it means to interact with others and really reflect on yourself. So I knew that I did not want to become a psychologist. I did not want to take that education track to get my doctorate in psychology, but I knew that I enjoy working with people. I enjoy hanging out with people. So I wanted to take an education route that would best equip me to be able to work with people. And in financial planning, we talk insurance, we talk investments, we talk all goals, but really I'm talking with people about people things. And so the degree really helps in this profession.
Yeah. And I feel like finances is kind of like a taboo topic to talk about. Why is that?
Yeah, so I tell people there really are three taboo subjects that for whatever reason in our society, we just don't want to bring them up. And that's money, sex, and child rearing, right? And part of the reason why we don't bring them up is because we are constantly being bombarded with comparisons of what others have. So we look at ourselves saying, I don't have as much money as that keeping up with the whatever show is of the week. And so when it comes to finances, because we look at ourselves introspectively, we don't feel like we have as much as we should or be where we are. So we just don't want to talk about it. Yeah. And then you think as a child, there are a few households where the parents really spend a lot of time talking to their kids about finances. But the common conversation is, no, you can't have that. Why not? Because we can't afford it. Mm-hmm. I think about growing up, my mother loved me, but many times I've heard her say we can't afford it. But at no point did she ever say, because I need to put money in my 401k, or because we need to put money towards this college savings goal, or because we have this bill that's a high interest rate and we need to pay it off first. It just ended with because we can't afford it. So then I become an adult. That's all I know about money is that if you can't afford it, you don't do it. So that's part of the reason why it's taboo is we aren't fed it as a young person. And then as an adult, we get trapped in a comparison game where we're comparing ourselves to others all around us.
Yeah. Do you feel like your psychology background has helped with that to be able to open that conversation with other people?
It does, because when you really think about it, it has a lot to do with your mindset that you have picked up at a young age. So when we start working with clients, we spend a lot of time talking about what were some money concepts you were taught as a kid that still influence you today. If you had somebody that was raised in the Great Depression, where they did not throw away anything, everything was reused, recycled, that was poured into their children to where they typically didn't throw anything away. So we have to say, what is the foundation of what you've learned? And then what do we keep? And then what do we reprogram? Because funny enough, there are things that I learned about finances as a kid, bad rules that still affect me today.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, so I think about being a young kid growing up in the hood, in the neighborhood, and a nice car would roll by, and you would say, that's my car. So you would claim it, right? So the first chance I had a little bit of money in my pocket, what were the first things I was purchasing? I was purchasing cars, because as a kid, I saw that if you had a nice car, that meant you made it. Not understanding that many people are driving $60,000 cars with $65,000 loans because they're upside down, right? But as a kid, you don't know that. So you just say, oh, that person is successful because they have a nice car. So the first chance as an adult that I have a steady income, the very first thing I buy is a nice luxury car.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a 20-year lesson, 15, 20-year lesson that I didn't even realize those seeds were planted. Yet fast forward, it was a big part of the decision I made to buy that luxury car at age 25, 26.
Yeah. And, so it's so interesting because yes, like I think we all have these notions of what, what brings in money, or how, like, our relationship with money as well, and how we utilize it essentially, and where we kind of spend it. And one of these, one of the biggest things that I come against, especially, working with a lot of individuals and coaching them, is oftentimes they really want to invest in themselves, but they don't have the money to do so. So it's almost like this, not being able to do what they really want to do with their money. So can you tell me a little bit about, like, how, if someone's feeling that way, they know that they want to change some things up, or they know that they're, not using their money the way that they really want to, like, what would be the first steps for them? Like, what would you advise them to start doing or thinking, or even ask from a question perspective to someone like yourself?
Yeah. So, the very first thing we have to do is we have to take an inventory of where our money is going. So the reality of our modern day lives is that many of us are making more money than our parents ever saw or dreamed for, yet we have a fraction of the wealth that they were able to accumulate. And part of that is because, we have car notes, we have timeshares, we have cable TV, we have data plans, we have magazine subscriptions, we have meal services coming in. So we have the income. For most households, it's not a challenge of creating income or creating money. The challenge is keeping it there because it's all rolling out to these other expenses. So the first thing I tell people to do is that take an inventory of what you're paying towards, or what you're paying your money towards, because there's a good chance that you have the money, it's just being redirected somewhere else. I give you a real life example. In 2007, I got rid of cable TV. So I have not had a cable TV subscription since then. But that freed up $2,400 per year. The average cable bill is about $200 per month. So all of a sudden, so that was 2007, 2008. Fast forward, you're talking about $23,000, $24,000 that has been freed up by eliminating just that one bill.
Wow.
So that's taking an inventory of, hey, here's what's coming in. Here are all the places that it is going out. And of the places that it is going out, how many of them do I need to leave intact? And how many of them can I eliminate?
Yeah. Was it hard to eliminate that one? Because a lot of people, that's entertainment, and it's a way to relax, and it's also a way to stay connected, get news. I mean, how was it to be able to, make that shift for you?
Yeah, so I will say this, it was a lot harder to do it back then than it would be today, because 2007, that was when you still, received Netflix DVDs in the mail, right? There weren't streaming services. So, without cable TV, you couldn't keep up with TV shows. You couldn't keep up with the programming. Fast forward to today, any show that's on cable TV, you can generally watch it the next day on their website for free. So that was the challenge. And the way we overcame it back then was we spent a lot of time at the library. We spend a lot of time at Blockbuster and Netflix videos to get our entertainment. And today we still do not have cable, but the difference between now and then is we're paying, $7 per month for Amazon Prime, where we can watch all the TV shows that we, watched on cable or Netflix or Hulu or all of these different streaming services. So you may not eliminate that expense altogether, but you might take it from $200 per month for one cable service down to $50 per month for 4 streaming services, and you're still saving, you're still freeing up money.
Yeah, oftentimes I think that, sometimes when we start talking about this, we think that by creating a budget or being aware of our money, it's going to we're going to be in lack, or we're massively going to be restricting ourselves and not able to enjoy and keep up with everything. But like you said, like that one change was $2,400 for the 1 year. And that's huge from an investment standpoint, or just even a savings standpoint, especially, if money is something that's of a struggle.
Yeah, and what I tell people is like using that one change as an example, it was easy for us because we were watching the same, 1 or 2 channels every day. If you're somebody who has a manual labor job and you come home and sitting down in the recliner and turning on cable TV is your relaxation, maybe you don't eliminate cable TV, but maybe you eliminate your cell phone data plan because you're at home most of the time and you can be on the Wi-Fi. So the reason we do that inventory is because every household is different, but every household has financial waste where they're paying for something that they're not utilizing fully, or they're paying too much for something out of habit that they can get at a reduced cost or for free.
Yeah. Okay. So after you've taken that inventory, then what? Like, what's the next step?
Yeah. So once you've taken the inventory to know what you have, now you need to start to slot them into your categories of need, wants, or wishes, right? So going back to that example of that person, that manual labor job, cable TV might be an absolute need for them, right? But a gym membership may be more of a want. Oh, I'm getting a workout at work, so it would be nice to have a gym membership, but if I have extra money, I'll get it. And if I don't, then I won't bother with it. And then the wishes are the extreme where if I just come into flush with cash, I'm going to go out today and buy this for myself. So once we've done the inventory, then we need to start shifting them on that chart to say, is this item a need? Because if it's a need, we don't even look at it. We don't consider it. If you have a mortgage payment, that's probably a need because you got to make that payment or you're homeless, right? If it's a want, you don't get rid of it yet because at the end of the experience, if you can still fund all of your needs and wants, then you keep them. But if you get to the end and there's not enough money left to cover all your wants, then you prioritize which ones you're going to keep and which ones you're going to let go. And then the wishes category is what I call like found money, where maybe you pick up a second job or a side hustle, or maybe you get an inheritance or an allowance or a bonus. You don't even think about it. You just take that and go enjoy yourself. That's what that wishes category is for.
Yeah. How long does it usually take someone to really kind of fine tune that or really make it work for their household?
It's really a quick process. What takes the most time is developing the habit, because our spending habits have been set over years, and then we want to change them overnight, right? So, we'll be really good, especially New Year's resolutions. We'll really be really good about saving, and then 2 or 3 months into it, we're right back to the habit. So that's why it's important. If somebody wants to make that change and they want that change to be quick and they want it to stick, they need to get a coach or a partner or a financial planner, somebody to hold them accountable to it. Because every single day, let's take spending and finances, for example, every single day we see over 3,500 messages that are telling us to give away our money, right? We see over 3,500 marketing messages every single day. So if we don't know why we're holding on to it or investing it, it's going to be really easy just to give it over to these subliminal messages. So having somebody hold you accountable will make it easier. And then what we do with our clients oftentimes is we try to gamify it. Like, hey, what if you get to 1,000 and then at 1,000 you can take 10% of it and go on a shopping spree. And then your next saving goal is 5,000. And when you get there, you can take 10% of it and go on a vacation. And so now each month you're like, do I spend this money on this or do I save it so I can work towards that goal? we make a game out of it to where it becomes fun to save rather than the resentment of saving, which sometimes the way we put our budgets in place, we end up resenting them more than anything else.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so true. How do you coach, or how do you work with your clients on that mindset shift? Because I feel like everything comes down to mindset. No matter
Yeah.
what area. It's all about the mindset and how you see it. And so even making that shift of, gamifying it versus being resentful towards it is a huge shift where it actually works within the relationship that you have with it. So how do you begin that journey with your clients to start changing that if they haven't done that before?
Yeah, we really try to go back to the beginning, and Simon Sinek has the book Start with Why, the TED Talk, or you can go check that out. But we really go back to the beginning of why are you doing all this? What's the end goal? What's the end reason why you're doing this? And so in the beginning and work with clients, we have to get back to you've been spending money, you've been charging your credit cards. Why? Oftentimes our financial choices are more symptomatic of other items or other issues. I don't want to get too deep here, but it may be I don't feel loved, so let me go buy something for myself so I feel loved. Or I don't feel successful, so let me go buy this house in this neighborhood so that I'll get the respect from my family who thinks I'm aloof. And so most of our spending is not because of just a desire just to blow money. We're trying to meet a need, but if we don't take the time to figure out why we are trying to meet that need, we'll just keep pouring, proverbially speaking, good money after bad. So when we start with working with clients, specifically, let's say in a financial planning relationship, we spend a lot of time in the beginning just really figuring out what's most important to them and why. Like I think about when I started in financial planning, clients would come in and they say, I want to retire at 55. And well, why? Ultimately it's because they just don't like the job they're at. Or if they had a job they love, they'll do it until they're 70, right? But I just want to retire at 55. And then they get to 55 and they're retired and they're miserable because all of their friends are still working. So they have nobody to hang out with and they don't have an identity anymore, right? So it wasn't that they had to retire at 55. The real financial planning issue was they did not like the job or the career they were doing. And so rather than spending time pouring thousands and thousands of dollars into this retirement plan, let's help you actually figure out the career track that's best for you to where that's not the priority anymore.
Yeah.
So
What has been like kind of one of the biggest aha moments that you had, either like in your own journey or that other clients have had that you've been able to witness with them around money?
yeah, well, I'll speak for myself. The biggest aha moment I've had is really understanding what brings me happiness, what brings me joy. What I found, in doing this soul searching about 10, 12, 15 years ago, is that I really just love most of the things I enjoy doing don't require money. I love hiking. I love camping. I love cycling. And so I was spending money for country club memberships. I was spending money on these great vacations, and we'd get home and we'd be more tired than we were when we went and really didn't enjoy it because we're running around trying to get everything in. And then you ask my kids, what are some of their favorite vacations? And they'll tell you, oh, that camping trip when we went so-and-so. And you remember when, we stepped into that beehive? So really just figuring out where my true happiness comes from for me was that aha moment, because then I no longer had to chase the happiness with my purchases. And for my clients, the most common aha moment is really just seeing where they are at, because oftentimes we put our head in the sand, we don't want to face it. But for many people, when they do an inventory of what they have, they'll find out they're in a much better position, and it takes that weight, that pressure off of them. I remember a conversation I had with one client where I just asked them, what do they think their net worth is? And without getting into the specifics, they were off by about $700,000.
Wow.
And they're working, thinking they can never see retirement. And when I give them the actual number and tell them how much income it can produce, you just saw the weight lift off of them that, wow, we're going to be okay. So if we continue to work, we're doing it because we enjoy the working, not because we have to. So that aha moment was the assessment to see what they have and ultimately see that what they had was able to help them accomplish their goal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What made you so passionate about this field?
Yeah, so ultimately it really is helping people. I found out that money is the most important thing in all of our lives, in the sense that pretty much everything we need requires some sort of monetary exchange, right? So there's anxiety about it, but I love showing people that no, you can have peace by doing X, Y, and Z, to where you don't have to be anxious about, are you going to have food for your family? Are you going to be able to accomplish your goals? So I love doing that. And I'm now starting to enjoy the people coming back. I have clients today that I have worked with for 21 years that I'm now seeing a plan that we put together 21 years ago, seeing it come to fruition today, and seeing their kid walk across the stage for graduation, or walk across the virtual Zoom screen for graduation, or seeing them actually get to retire from their job, knowing that, I was able to be instrumental in helping them accomplish that. Bringing that joy to their life is really what keeps me passionate about this.
Yeah, and you just have such a service heart. I mean, I'm not shy about saying you are one of my mentors, and you have poured into me in so many different ways. And I envision that you probably make a lot of people cry, like in a really good way, just because because you tap into really the heart of what is going on. And I think that that is something, we don't have conversations around, because it's a vulnerable act. And when we start talking about finances, it is very vulnerable, because it has been taboo, or not a conversation that you have. Or if you have money, there's also perceptions of you for having money. I think that it just goes into so many different layers. So I think that service heart that you have is just something that makes you so successful. And I'm so appreciative of it, because I've learned so much from you. Definitely.
Well, thank
So
you for those kind words. I appreciate it.
yeah, of course. What do you feel? What do you feel like is the biggest misconception as it relates to money?
Yeah, I mean, really, this is easy. The single biggest misconception as it relates to money is that more will solve your problems. And the reason that's the biggest misconception is that we see every single day people that have more money than we can count to that still have problems, right? So more money is not the solution. It's better utilization of the money that you have. Money is just a tool, and so if I want to build, I want to build a fence, and I have to choose between a dull saw or a sharpened saw. I'm gonna pick the right tool and pick a sharpened saw. I'm not going to get more saws, right? So I want to make sure I'm utilizing the tool to the best of its ability. And so having more is not the answer, but that tends to be the pursuit we go for. And then so you have people who don't see their family because they're working 60, 70 hours per week. They don't see their family because they're chasing the side hustle, and they're trying to grind and build this thing up. They don't see their family, or they don't spend time with their family, because once they have the resources, they're traveling and trying to get in the trip, but the whole time they're worried about paying for it. So to bring it full circle, going back to see why, what makes you happiest is the way, but having more money isn't always the way. And in fact, they did a study. There was a book, and I think they made a movie of it. It was called The Happiness Advantage. And it was interesting because they said there's a significant difference in happiness between $0 of income and 50,000 of income, and rightfully so. If you had no money, you can't buy anything. At 50,000, you can pretty much buy most of the necessities you need and you have there. But there was not much of a measurable difference between 50,000 and 500,000 of income.
Whoa.
And that's interesting. And if you think about it, you're going to the same mattress store, you're probably buying the same mattress. You're shopping at the same Costco, you're shopping at the same department store, you're probably driving the same comparable cars. But how many people are not happy with their $50,000 or $60,000 job, and they're stressing themselves out trying to get to six figures, and then they're spending that extra money on drugs and alcohol to medicate the misery that they have. So yeah, just go back and just find out what really makes you happy, and then pursue that happiness. And oftentimes it's not money is the solution. It's, quality time, or better utilization of the resources you have.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in so many ways we're taught that the solution is money for many different things, not just for, our basic needs of, food, water, shelter, but in so many ways we're told that it is the path to happiness and success as well. And that's kind of the ultimate, you know, what everyone kind of tries to reach for, essentially.
Yeah, I've been privileged to meet a lot of people, and really, and I'm not just saying this tongue in cheek. Some of the happiest people I've met have never made more than $40,000 a year of income. And many of these people put their kids through college with no debt. Their house is paid off. But you look at them and they drove the same car for many years. They lived in the same house and paid it off versus buying a new car every 2 years or buying a new house every 3 years. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but what I do see the consistency of it is they find contentment in what they have and they focus more on those experiences and the memories rather than the stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So we're coming off a rough year, and I would say that 2021 is also coming in pretty hot,
Yeah.
as far as we know what it's bringing to us. For someone that's really struggled in 2020, or continues to struggle but knows that they want to do better with their finances, what are like three things that you would share with them to help create, futuristically speaking, financial freedom?
Yeah. So, the first one is talk about it. Anytime you bring it to the light and you converse about any topic, you feel better about it. When it's just in our mind and in our heart and we're struggling with it alone, we feel like we're the only one who is broke. We're the only one who doesn't have a retirement account. We're the only one. When you get together with others and you share those concerns, it frees you of the weight of those concerns. And it also oftentimes makes you feel better about what you do have. So first things first, find somebody, friend, families, professional that you can actually start talking about this with to get that, for lack of a better word, get that poison out, because it really is poison when it's just sheltered inside. Two is to create a savings habit at any dollar level. We get people that come to our office that feel like they have to put $500 or $1,000 per. You don't have to. Even if you save $25 per month, if you do that for 3 or 6 months, you will no longer miss that $25. And then the next time you raise it to 50, and it might be a stretch, and you do that for 3 or 6 months. After that time frame, you don't miss it anymore. You've made the adjustment. Then you raise it to 100, 200, 300. So create a saving strategy with a dollar amount that you can consistently save every month without having to adjust it because it's summertime or it's Christmas. You want to create that habit. And then finally, establish at least 1 to 2 financial goals. That way you can have a target for what that saving is going to be used for. And don't worry about qualifying that goal. That goal very well may be a road trip across country. Like, one of the things I want to do is I want to do that Starlight Express train ride across the United States, right? I've driven across the United States many times, but I want to sit in a coach car with a bed and do that train ride. So that could be a financial goal, to say that my goal is for at the end of 2021 to take a train ride across the country. And then when I'm saving on a monthly basis, I know that that's going towards something versus just really throwing it into the air and seeing where it sticks. So talk about your finances with somebody else, somebody that's trustworthy, or somebody that won't judge you for wherever you are. Create a systematic saving strategy or systematic habit of savings, and then create 1 to 2 goals. That way you can have a target. So when you're looking at your savings balance, you can know that you're making progress towards a specific goal.
Yeah. Yeah, love it. So I'm sure, people tuning in, they're like, Jana, you're a dietitian. Why are you talking about finances? And why is Nate, here talking about finances? So why do finances impact our health?
Yeah, I love that question. And that's anybody that thought that is extremely valid, right? Like, what do these two have to do with one another?
Yeah.
Oftentimes you hear the phrase health is wealth, and the other side of that coin is wealth leads to health, because they say anywhere from 80 to 90% of all doctor's visits are stress related, right?
Wow.
tension, or we go to the chiropractor because of the tension in our back. We go to the doctor because of heart disease, because of the stress. Cancer feeds on those stress cells. And money is one of the biggest stressors in most people's lives. So your financial position does change your health significantly. But once again, we talk about money being a tool. At some point, you want to retire, and really that tool is going to allow you to enjoy the days of your youth with your health. So they go together hand in hand, because in order for me to be healthy, have the ability to hire great coaches like Jana, have the ability to buy quality food, have the ability to get outside and see sunshine, and get my daily dose of sun rays, I need to have the financial means to not have to stay inside of a cave at a job every day working, right? And
Yeah.
in order for me to enjoy it, I need to be in a financial position where I'm not stressed out about how I'm going to pay my bills. And I've seen scenarios where people had plenty of money but did not get to enjoy it because their health deteriorated from the stress of the job, to where now their family benefited from their savings, but they didn't get to, enjoy any of it.
Yeah.
When I first started in this business, we would always, tell people, oh, well, you at 65 you can start traveling. Well, my recommendation for traveling has shifted a lot over the years, and now I tell people, incorporate travel into your monthly budget, and don't wait till retirement to start traveling, because you may not have your health at that time. So like,
Yeah.
travel now while you still have your health, and just put it into your budget so you can afford to do it. That way, when you're on that trip, you're not stressed out about it.
Yeah. I always say that someday is not a day. Especially like, I mean, and I think that is relative, I think it relates to a lot of different areas for our overall health and well-being. And, so I coach based on a very holistic approach for the realms of wellness. So there are
Yeah.
8 realms of wellness, and one of those is financial well-being, because it does impact our overall sense of safety and security. And it is the number one stressor in households.
Yeah.
And if you are living in a stress state, you do not feel a sense of well-being. And so
No.
I think it's always, great to be able to open up these conversations, to really dive in and say, like, how can we start to massage this so that you start feeling more secure and comfortable and confident with your whole life situation? Because that financial stress, if a bill comes in and you were not aware of that bill and you cannot pay that bill, I guarantee you're probably going to the cupboard and enjoying some chips to kind of mitigate that and our emotions. So I see it as a whole. We are not individuals in isolations, little pockets, which we try to
Yeah.
do oftentimes. And so it all flows together and it all impacts each other. So financial well-being, I think I think it goes mindset and then finances and then a whole list of other things.
Yeah, if I can have a moment of a confessional here, like I just had a conversation this morning with a friend who wrote me a check, and they said, "Hey, did you deposit that check yet?" And I said, "No, I didn't. I'll make sure I do it today." But why do I share that? I share that because one, I should have deposited right away. I just I got electronic deposit. There's no excuse. But I didn't need it right away, right? So having that peace of mind that says I don't have to run to the bank and deposit this right now to pay a bill, that is liberating. And so taking that off your plate is great. One of the things that I tell every American, and this is where really part of my mental or my money mindset came from, I tell every American, you need to travel abroad so you can see what many other people around the world live like, because I've seen some of the quote unquote poorest people in the world living the happiest lives I've ever seen, while only having a fraction of what we have in the States.
Yeah.
And when I go to a country where the average income is $30 per month, and they're giving you the shirt off their back, they're providing food, the kids are running around, they're laughing until 2 or 3 in the morning. Every time I come back to the States, it just gives me a new appreciation or renewed appreciation of how fortunate I am, and the gratitude for what I have.
Yeah. Yeah, I will never forget when I went over to the Philippines and just saw the conditions that many people live there. And they were the most generous, kind, smiling individuals that
Yeah.
seemed to have like no worry. And I'm thinking, what?
Yeah.
Like, what am I missing? what, like there, and it was just very, very eye-opening and a very humbling experience to say, we are very blessed to be in the United States and to have the ability to, so here's the thing, like, I believe that everyone should have an abundant life. And I believe that everyone should make as much money as they possibly want to. But I also think like you said, we really have to check, like, what are our needs and our wants and our wishes? Because that really you can make a lot of money, but you can also spend a lot of money. So, it goes hand in hand.
And really, the question is, what is our definition of abundance, right? Because the truth is, you can only spend so much money. Like you see, every day Forbes reminds us of how wealthy some of our fellow Americans are and how little peons we are, right? And one example of that is, Elon Musk's his net worth increased by $100 billion this year because of his company. But the reality is there is nothing that he bought this year that he couldn't have purchased last year. Even though he has 100 billion more, there is nothing he could purchase this year that he wasn't able to purchase last year, right? So what is his definition of abundance? Does he need to be at 500 billion? And so I just use that as an example to say that if we measure our abundance as a financial number, it's almost a bottomless pit. We won't ever achieve it. But if we measure our happiness and our joy and our abundance with tangible things, like for me, early on, it was quality time with my family. So I would walk my kids to school in the morning. I would walk and pick them up in the afternoon. I would help them do homework. I would do the field trips. That was how I measured my abundance. And during those years, I made less income. But you know what? My happiness was much higher because that was the primary goal, was not the earning. It was the peace that came along with it.
Yeah, definitely. What do you wish more people knew about money?
Yeah, what do I wish? I wish more people realize that money is not as scary as it seems, right? Money is not as intimidating as it looks. There's a gentleman named Ron Blue, and he started an organization called Kingdom Advisors. And he often says that money in its simplest form is one of three things. One, it's a tool. It's a tool to be used for an exchange of a monetary good. It's a test. It's a test to determine your true character. We see lottery winners that are bankrupt within 3 years. Well, the lottery was the test, and they didn't pass the test. And so it's a test of who you are, and then it's your testimony, and that's it. It's your living legacy. So if we can take away the stigma of money and not be as intimidated by it, that would help a lot of people. And oftentimes I hear people come here and they say, I just don't know anything about money. If you've walked on this earth more than a day, you know a lot about money, right? Because you had to do some sort of monetary exchange, right? Yeah, you had to. So most people know more about money than they give themselves credit for, but it still seems like this monster that's looming over us. And when we, like old Scooby-Doo, when we pull down the mask and realize that it's just Mr. Jenkins from next door, you're not scared of it anymore. So don't let it intimidate you.
Yeah, it's a big one. Like you said, we just kind of don't want to look at it because then it's not there. But then when we do look at it, it can be very freeing, very empowering to be able to know like how you are utilizing your money.
Exactly.
So I always like to ask, I really want to be this podcast to be a space where we do start talking about these like taboo topics, but that we do it in a real light, so that people can feel not as much guilt or shame around it, because I think oftentimes like we kind of silo ourselves for something that 10 other people are struggling with too. So once we start having the conversation, we realize like, okay, like other people are struggling with this, or like you're not alone is a big thing for me. And I think that really allows us to be empowered and to have control over our lives. What is the biggest thing to start taking that control of finances?
So you bring up a good point. I remind myself of the fact that whatever I'm dealing with, there's somebody that has gone through it and knows what it's like on the other side. There's somebody that's in the middle of it that can walk along with me, or there's somebody that's coming up to it that I can help them prepare for what they're about to face, right? So there's always somebody going through it. We are never alone. And so I know I'm repeating this, but the biggest thing is to not only have a conversation with people that can help you, but it needs to be a dual directional conversation. So for me, what I love to do is I love to say, who can, even though I don't know everything about X topic, with what I do know, who can I pour that into? So while I'm learning from this person, I'm pouring it into the next person. And what that does for me in many topics is it forces me to either retain what I'm hearing so that way I can share it, or go out and consume more knowledge so that I can share it. The one excuse that we can no longer use in today's society is I don't know.
Ooh.
Because there is no shortage of places for us to know.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to just now start consuming all the data, all the information that's out there. And when you have a place to deliver it, you feel a lot better about consuming it. So as I am being mentored by somebody, I should be mentoring somebody. And if that's my financial journey, if my journey is about getting out of debt and I'm working with somebody to help me get out of debt, I should be mentoring somebody else about how to stay out of debt or not getting it to begin with.
Interesting.
So,
well, yeah, I mean, you can Google anything and everything. And that's actually one thing that, you know, I share with my coaching clients from the nutrition side of things is you can Google everything, but it will likely make you feel more confused and more lost because it's the application of it. How do we apply this? So I always say, like, no, and I feel like this goes with any realm of, you have to also kind of shut yourself off to all the different stimuli that's out there and focus on maybe one book, you know, maybe checking out one book from that library that's on finances and maybe starting to read that and just focus in and see, okay, what did I learn? Does it resonate with me? Is this something that I want to do for myself? If not, how do I switch it and go to the next one? Because I find like so many people, you know, are consuming all of this information and then it just keeps them stuck versus saying, okay, one thing. We're just going to focus on one thing and then I'm going to go from there.
Yeah, it's like the perpetual graduate student that has 15 degrees, but they haven't started working yet, right? But they're still in this pursuit of knowledge. But I agree with you completely. And I bring it back to the point of it's important to have conversations with people, because it's in those conversations where you will get the filter that says, of these 1,000 articles that I can pick on saving for retirement, here are the 5 that probably makes the most sense for you. Right. So that network of people to talk to becomes the filter or the grid that all of this infinite knowledge goes through, to where when it settles down, we're now getting it concentrated to what we specifically need. People come to me as a financial planner for that very reason. I have people that come in to me, and I'm not ashamed to say it, they are infinitely smarter than I am, right? Extremely intelligent people. They're coming to me to say, Nathan, of all this information, what should I be focusing on?
Yeah.
And then when I point them in the right direction, they take off and they consume the right course. And much like a dietitian, there's so many food choices out there. How do I know what's the right one for my body type? How do I know what's the right one to give me energy for the race I'm going to run, you know, the half marathon? And then they come to you as a professional and you filter it down and to say, this is of these 10 fruits to choose from, here are the 3 you should be looking at.
Yeah. I just think it's so interesting how all these areas of our life, you know, have some, you know, commonalities or common principles that really, when you start putting into play, it affects so many areas and really transforms you as an individual. So I know that you work a lot with women. So tell me why you decided to kind of focus on helping women with their financial success.
Yeah, you know, if I have to choose between sitting across from a grizzly dude or a nice female, I think I'm gonna pick the female every time. No, truthfully, I grew up in a single parent household, and my mother means the world to me. She gave 150% effort to equip me to live in this world. But the reality is, as a woman in America, she was not privy to all of the financial tools and concepts and tips that were available. So she was limited to how much she could teach me. So that planted the first seed. And then in about 2001, my father passed away. And I remember having conversations with my stepmother, who is an extremely intelligent woman. She was a retired educator, but really did not know a lot about what they had going on in the household from a financial standpoint, because he, controlled everything. And then that really started my journey to say, why is there this disconnect? You have these intelligent, more than capable women who understand it, but are not learning it. And then I started having kids. I got daughters, and so I said, what's going on here? And so through my research, I found out that, and there's no surprise, financial planning and financial services has been male dominated for many, many years, partly because the jobs were only available for the men. The investment opportunities were only available for the men. The professionals, the average financial planner is the 57-year-old white male. And where are they meeting their clients? They're meeting them at the social clubs where they're hanging out with other people. So about 12 or 13 years ago, I said, we're going to make sure that we create a safe space where women can learn about finances without feeling intimidated by what they don't know or what they don't fully comprehend. So we set out to provide educational workshops. We set out to provide fun events where women can come together. Pre-COVID, we've hosted for the last 10 years a wonderful tea party where we have about 150 women in attendance, but they get to network with each other and learn from one another. And so we just wanted to be that one safe place that women can say, okay, I want to know more about money, and I know that I can go to Agape Planning Partners and learn it without feeling belittled or talked down to, but get the respect that I deserve. So yeah, that's been our focus, and it continues to be our focus. We still, I still work with male and female clients alike, but 100% of our community awareness efforts have been centered around professional women and young women to make sure they're equipped and empowered.
Yeah, I think that, I know, so many professional women that make really good money, but have no clue how to actually manage it, because it was almost still kind of taught like, you meet a man and, everything kind of falls in line that way. And I think that the conversation even around that for my generation is very, very different, because we are deciding to maybe not marry as early or even, have kids as early. And so we have to take care of our financials more on our own. Not saying any one way is bad, but I think that's just the reality of where we are in society now.
Yeah, well, there's two parts to that I like to say. One is society has told us for many, many years that women are to submit to their husbands, right? Submit to the man. And what I like to remind people of is that in my definition of the word submission, it's having the ability to do something, but choosing to allow someone else to do it in your place, right? And so I tell my daughters, like, if you want to have somebody that covers the bills in your household, at some point in the future, great, but you will have the capacity to do it yourself to where you don't have to have them do it. And so when we look at the realities of our world, women live longer. So women are, even in a marriage or relationship, is more likely to be alone at some point in that relationship than they are to be together. From a financial responsibility standpoint, almost 70% of the baby boomer wealth that's to be expected to be inherited in the next 20 years, and we're talking about several trillions of dollars. About 70% of that is expected to land in the hands of women. Okay.
Wow.
The highest number of college degrees being issued today are by women. The fastest growing segment of small business owners are women. So women, you're running the world, and where the disconnect is only 23% of the women surveyed felt confident in making the financial decisions. So it's really just saying, hey, we have the knowledge, we have the resources, and now let's be empowered to do it. And it's a rub against society, because a lot of society still does not want empowered women. And the other disconnect is, you look around, and it's changed in the last couple of years, but it was hard to find a successful woman.
Yeah.
There was no shortage of successful men to see in the media, but it was really hard to find a successful woman who built it up on her own. And so you didn't have the opportunity to see people that looked like you. That's changed a lot as well. And what I love about our world today is I can show you examples of truly successful business owners that are 17-year-old females, and I can show you women who are 75 that are just getting into their wealth. So there's somebody for everybody when it comes to looking and seeing an example that you can relate to.
Yeah. Gosh, you said 23%?
23% confidence, only 23% are confident. Yep.
Wow. I feel like that should be a whole series for you.
Yeah. It really should be. And I mean, if we know the realities of the world was that people argue, but there's some validity to it. There's a wage gap. Women have made less money, and the money they made had to go to take care of aging parents because they were the responsible child. So they didn't have the ability to save for retirement accounts when their male counterparts could. And then when you do invest, you tend to be more conservative because you don't want to risk losing it. And so that it unpacks and it becomes this domino effect that lends itself to a lower level of net worth because of those decisions. But when that confidence changes, then the decisions change with what you do with the dollars, and you start to see the wealth become on par with one another.
Yeah. I will say that was probably one of the biggest things that I ever did for my self-confidence and my self-esteem was paying off debt, because it was kind of always told to me that you can't really live without debt, or, debt is there to be there and it's not a bad thing. And it doesn't have to be. I think, certain debt is not beneficial of depreciation. But I mean, if it's appreciating and it's growing and, contributing to your portfolio, I think it's, positive. However, when I, put in that final payment, I was like, I'm unstoppable.
Yes.
If only for a second I feel this way and I'm good to go. And I just want to be able to empower other women to feel that same way, because when my story of paying off debt took about 2.5 years, and I was working multiple jobs, and I was literally coming home crying every night because I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah. It was constant questioning. And so, I mean, I think that it's such, something that is really powerful that you're doing to be able to help women in this space, because we don't feel confident in it, because it's not talked about, and because it is very much so looked differently when women are handling money versus when men are handling money.
Yeah, but if I can just turn the spotlight back towards you, though, what I loved about your journey was that you were extremely transparent and you shared with us. I followed part of that journey through your social media platforms. And so I know there were a lot of people watching you and watching you achieve your financial success and watching you share some of the struggles. And so it goes back to that conversation of when we take away the taboo aspect of it, when we bring it to the light, when we talk about it, we are not only empowering ourselves, but we are empowering others, even if they never tell us they were empowered by it, the effect was made. So you did knowingly or unknowingly, you are making a difference in the lives of women, because there were a lot of women and men alike watching you go through that journey and watching somebody that is normal accomplish something that was super normal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted to say one thing about that debt. I tell people, so I'm on a debt-free journey myself. Like, I got to pay off a mortgage. I have one car left, but what I remind people about debt is that the only good debt is debt that you don't need. Meaning that if today you wanted to pay it off in its entirety, you have the ability to pay it off in its entirety. Now you're using the debt and the debt is not using you. That's the difference between debt. So we say, appreciating assets, a mortgage, what generally, if I sell the house, I pay off the debt, but a television, it's not good debt, because if I sell the TV, I'm not going to sell it probably for what I charged on the credit card.
Yeah. That's a bummer. That's a really good point. And it also kind of, I think that's a good assessment tool or check-in tool, like even before purchasing the item as well.
It really is. The question is, like, I love my credit card. I've gone on 2 trips because of my credit card, right? And the miles and the points. I've cashed in a couple of different extended warranties on my credit cards, but I pay them off every single time that I use them. So the moment I charge it, I have debt, but I have the cash ready to pay off that debt. So I'm not in debt. I'm using the debt as a tool. I'm not in debt, meaning I'm not carrying it month to month. And that's the difference.
Big difference, big, mindset difference to even, be aware of that. And really you are controlling it. It's not controlling you.
Correct. Yep.
Cool. Well, I mean, I feel like I could talk for like 3 more hours on this because I just love talking to you. And like this space is just something that I love to talk about. Unfortunately, I'm sure that people wouldn't tune in for 4 hours, but I always love to, I love to support other people. I love to, serve people. And I love to hear people say, what they're really good at and give themselves credit and be what they're proud of for themselves. Because I think that when we do that, we allow others to also do the same thing. And we just spread, a very positive vibe throughout our community. So what is something that you are really proud of yourself for achieving?
Yeah, there are several things I'm proud of. Like I've done a triathlon without dying, so I'm very proud of that, and I'm glad I can sit here to tell you that story. But I would say the one thing that I'm most proud of is the discipline that I've had to carve time out to help others. Every week, I make a dedicated effort to mentor young professionals and young adults, incarcerated youth, and young ladies that have been victims of human sex trafficking. And that's something that I would say I'm really proud of, because there are many times where it's like, I could do something else at that time, or I got something else that's important, but I continue to carve out that time, and then I get the feedback from them later about the difference it made. And I know that I'm sitting here today because people carved that time out for me 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So the fact that I've been able to keep that commitment is one of the things I'm most proud of. That and the fact that my kids haven't starved yet, because I still remember to feed them.
A parenting win.
Yes. Wait, did I feed them today? Yeah, I did. So yeah.
That's awesome. And you make such a big impact in our community. So we are so thankful that you are willing to do so.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful that a friend wanted to meet me for coffee, and they wanted to know, how can they get as involved as I am? And I had to remind them that, my business allows me to have more free time than most people. So I realize and recognize that I'm fortunate in the work that I do, because it allows me to control my schedule and carve out time to do other things. And I just want to say, for people who have limited time but want to make a difference, most places are willing to take whatever time you have. So don't feel like you have to give hours upon hours every week. Sometimes it's as simple as giving a phone call or an email of encouragement to a student. You can be utilized. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Nate, if someone wants to reach out and start that conversation around finances, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can reach us online at www.appwealth.com. That's www.applepaulpaul.com. You can email me, nathan@appwealth.com, and our phone number is 559-431-7526. We are located in Fresno, California, but we do work with people throughout the United States. So specifically, we're able to work with people in Oregon, California, Washington, Nevada, Texas, Colorado. And if you're in a state that I'm not currently licensed in, you can still reach out and we can change that pretty quickly. So yeah.
Cool. And I hear for those that are able to meet in person, you provide some pretty awesome treats.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'm not ashamed to say I bribe people with coffee and snacks, I think it's more for me, though. I think I like to drink, but I don't like to drink alone. So I bought all this coffee equipment and tea equipment. And so if you meet in person, you can select your own beverage choice and snack choice, and don't feel bad about it, because even if you don't show up, I'm going to drink and eat anyway. So. But it's all healthy.
Yeah. Oh, enjoy it.
Yes.
Well, Nate, I am just so honored that you would provide some of your time and your knowledge and your wisdom, as always. And I just thank you for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and this platform that you're putting in place to educate and equip people. I admire you, and I love watching you excel. And I love the fact that you're making an effort to pour into many others' lives. So keep up the good work.
Thanks.